Hi, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes, hi.
Great. Hello, hi everyone. I'm Ishrat and I'm a third year social sciences student at King's College, London. I'm very passionate about politics and especially education policy. I've had the opportunity to mentor a senior police officer with the Girls Network, and I've been involved very heavily with the Girls Network and attended events with them. And today I'm here interviewing Dr. Sam Bunting and Lynne Griffiths, which is very exciting with Theresa. I'd like to start off by asking Dr. Sam Bunting if you could please tell us about your journey and what you do at Dr. Sam's Skincare, because we'd love to hear more about your work and how you got started.
Yes, of course. So I'm originally from Northern Ireland and I was good at sciences when I was at school, but I was a little bit, what do I do? What do I do? I haven't got a true vocation at this point in my life. So I decided to apply for medicine. I was lucky enough to get into Cambridge University and then UCL. So I had a very traditional medical career for the first 12 years, till 2010. I chose to specialize in dermatology. And I think that really tied into my very early love of all things to do with beauty and fashion. I mean, I read Vogue when I was 8. My auntie was a regular subscriber, and to me, that captivated me. So there was something in the back of my mind while I was doing all these hard, exams and working the long hours of a junior doctor that propelled me towards a, a career in dermatology, which in the first instance was a traditional medical hospital job. But I wanted something a little bit different. I wasn't necessarily inspired by the senior people in jobs in the hospital who'd been there for a long time. And I sort of took a departure from the traditional route and set up my own practice at really quite an early stage in Harley Street. So private practice is, I guess, really run as more of a business. And I think really there was something deeply entrepreneurial in me. There was a calling to do something where I had more control, more autonomy, and ultimately could deliver a better service to my patients because there was more time, there was more choice of tools to use. And I really set up my practice in a way that I had seen colleagues in the US do, where not only did they embrace the treatment of disease, but also the extension of that using dermatology to deliver beautiful, healthy skin. And as somebody who'd suffered from really troublesome skin when I was particularly in my early kind of, my late studies at university and then my early junior doctor years, I was quite paralyzed, I would say, with the confidence depleting effect of having really quite troubled skin. So I think that was another kind of little nugget that was kind of channeling me in a direction that was a little bit different to, say, conventional medical careers. And when I left the NHS, I very quickly started to do work in the media. And I loved that. I loved having this role as an educator because skincare in particular is full of promises and myths. And I ended up doing some TV work. I ended up as a presenter on a TV show for TLC, which was shown in, I think, over 30 countries. And I did that for 3 years, for 3 seasons. I started to work with brands, and it was around that time that social media was starting to kick off. And because a lot of people who I suppose would be classed as amateurs suddenly found themselves with a platform, I decided to bring a little bit of common sense, shall we say, and pragmatism back to the arena of helping people who had mild skin concerns, but try and find better solutions for themselves in a way that I hope was kind of very clear. And I built up an audience quite quickly and sort of became this trusted voice in a sea of confusion. So that was quite a few different things going on that were a little bit out of the ordinary, and I really loved it. And I was quite a shy person when I was studying. I did athletics quite competitively, and that was kind of, I suppose, something that gave me confidence when I was younger. But I think as an adult, I kind of didn't really find my true voice until I found myself in this kind of more entrepreneurial space. Doing TV was a tremendous way of combating my shyness, as it turns out. I gained a lot of self-confidence in learning to be able to talk to a camera, even ending up doing live television with hours notice one Boxing Day, which was quite surprising to my parents, who'd just come over from Christmas and had left, and were like quite surprised to find their daughter on the Channel 4 news when she was in her pajamas whenever they left her. Um, So I was very lucky. I had all these opportunities to work with brands. I was, for a fashion lover, dream come true. I was made the global spokesperson for Dolce & Gabbana's skincare line when they launched, and I was able to travel all over the world and meet journalists in lots of different locations. And I realized that this love of skincare and this love of putting people right and helping them find sensible solutions, combined with my love of just treating patients, that it was something that I had worked out how to solve my problem skin. I'd helped a lot of, really quite high profile people, everyone from Oscar-winning actresses to supermodels to beauty journalists, solve their skin concerns with what I thought was kind of a formula. And I realized that we could probably put that into a formula that would be more accessible for people who wouldn't make their way to my Harley Street rooms, which is, let's face it, the majority of people, to make something that had the aspirational qualities, but also was really, really accessible, something that I would have been able to access as a troubled junior doctor, without a huge amount of money back in the day. So the ideas for that kind of had really started to come together, and I put off starting for a really long time. I think I believed that I would need a partner. I would need somebody with a strong business background to carry me, to support me. And, I talked to numerous people, including a very large pharmacy chain. We talked for over a year. They really wanted to do a brand together, but couldn't quite get it into the shape of a deal that it was kind of give me enough control. So that kind of went by the by. I had a lot of other interests. A high net worth individual came to me with the proposal of doing something together. Again, they couldn't quite align with my vision of doing this very affordable, accessible thing. To them, a doctor-led brand had to be something very expensive and high-end. And that wasn't what I wanted to do. I was very clear about that. And eventually, a good friend who was a really kind of creative entrepreneur was like, you just have to start. So in the end, this was back in 2018, I launched Dr. Sam Skincare with one product, our cleanser. Launched it from the living room. The cats may or may not have been bopping around as we packed boxes whenever. I mean, the first day was just incredible. I built up great relationships because of all, these activities. I built really, great support from, in particular, the Sunday Times Style magazine, which is a Sunday supplement. And they did a whole page on the launch of the brand. They knew, I guess, what I was trying to build from the very beginning. They understood what the mission was. So they supported, really wholeheartedly. And we got amazing traction on day one. And, I hadn't taken any investment. I'd invested my clinic money, my hard-earned clinic money, something like £15,000. It really wasn't very much. I'd hired one person, and my boyfriend had helped build the website. A friend of a friend had helped with the design. And within 2 weeks, we were profitable, and we were able to move to a fulfillment center to start sending out the product. So I didn't have to harness my family and my cleaner and other friends and family to help pack boxes with me, because things had gone so well. And that was back in 2018. And now 6 years later, we just launched in Sephora last week. So this is a really lovely time to be doing this interview with you guys. And, life is very good. We have a team of about 22 now, and things are just going really well. The business is doubling this year, and I'm in a place where I have my clinic, and I do that one day a week, and I have the brand, which I'm mostly focused on, I suppose, these days. I create content every week. So I have this really diverse career where I do lots of different things. I'm never bored. I'm always busy. And I think I'm doing exactly what I was meant to do. But I guess what's interesting is I took a very long way around to arrive at something that is, my real purpose in life. And I feel very lucky to be here. But I think there were a lot of lessons along the way that I probably didn't know myself very well at the beginning, whereas I do now. So Lovely to share that rather long journey with you, but that's where we are, and that's what Dr. Sam's skincare is about at the moment.
Thank you, Sam. That was amazing to hear and very inspiring, especially hearing about how you grew your business from just one person to now a team of 22 and getting people close to you and your friends and family to help you grow this. And now you've just launched at Sephora, which is really amazing. So
Yeah.
thank you for sharing. Yeah, I'd like to pass it on to Theresa now.
Yeah. Hi everyone. My name is Theresa and I'm going to my second year of university. I study law at the University of Birmingham and I've been an ambassador since 2021. Being an ambassador has given me the opportunity to go to 10 Downing Street to mentor a police officer and just help improve women's livelihoods. A couple years ago I jumped on a podcast called Women Waves and we discussed all things women empowerment. I just wanted to say, Dr. Sam, as well, whilst you were talking, I was on Google looking for your products. I'm not gonna lie. So I'm definitely very inspired. I'm very inspired. And it's so nice to see that you can take something so small and it can become so big. And you look back and you see all the challenges that you face and you overcome. And you can actually sit down and say that it was worth all the stress, all the tears, all the energy. So kudos.
Today it is anyway.
Today, 100%. So kudos to you. And my question for Lynne, um, is that could you please also tell us a bit about your journey and what your AG does? And I'm eager to learn, or we're as the Girls Network are eager to learn about like your line of work and the impact that it's had. So take it away.
Thank you, Theresa. I too have been having a Google of Dr. Sam as well. So yeah, I'll be going there as well later. I'm delighted to be here today. Thank you for inviting me. I've done 2 years now with the Girls Network. So I wonder if two of my mentees are now ambassadors watching this at some point. If you are, hi girls. So I've had a wiggly journey in my career also. I think that if I reflect back on where I started, that's not where I've ended. And I think that's probably a lot of people have that sort of journey. So I grew up in Cumbria, the Lake District, which is the northwest of England. There wasn't much going on other than beautiful mountains and beautiful lakes, lots of nature. I left school and went to college, and then I wanted to go into tourism. So my view was I want to travel the world, I want to show people the world and do as much on the tourism side of working as I could. As I was finishing college and thinking about next steps, uni wasn't really on my radar for no reason other than it wasn't talked about. Nobody in my family had really been to uni. It just wasn't on the horizon for no reason than that. I just didn't look and I didn't talk to anybody about it. And I think that was a real shame looking back. So I started a HND at my local college doing tourism with business. And after about 3 months of doing this course, I thought, why am I not at uni? Why have I just stayed here? Why am I not learning more and meeting more people and going out there into the big wide world? So after I completed the first year, I jumped onto the second year of the programme, the same course, but at a different university. I went to Central Lancashire Uni in Preston. They would accept me halfway through the course. So I finished the HND and then did the 1 year top up onto the degree course. And I actually changed again then. I went from business with tourism to business with employee relations because I realised that working with people was where my passion was. And I thought at that point, actually, I want to go into HR. And when I finished my degree, I did got the prospectus for the graduate jobs and, went through that every day. You didn't really apply online. You wrote letters, you sent them, and you just applied for everything you possibly could. And I got invited to a couple of assessment centres for different businesses and was accepted onto the graduate programme for Marconi, which is not a business that's around anymore. It was a telecommunications business based in Coventry. So I left Preston and went to Coventry and started on their graduate programme. And my first placement in the business for that programme was in HR doing internal communications. And I thought I was going into a HR role, but what I was actually doing was going into a communications role. And I've actually been doing communications ever since then. I never went any further with HR, but actually understanding people and behaviours and how people need to understand information to be able to work was what I thought was my passion. I stayed in Marconi for about 18 months, and it was a really unique time to be in that business because it was in high growth globally. And then a number of things changed in the economy, and this business went from hero to zero literally overnight. People were being made redundant, the share price plummeted, and I think we went through 4 chief executives in a matter of months. It was in the news every day, and everybody in the internal comms function that was above me were all made redundant. And I found myself in a position as a graduate on calls at 4 o'clock in the morning before the stock market opened with the chief executive and the board talking about what they were going to announce to the press on the next steps for the business and who was being made redundant and what was happening. And it was a really bizarre position to be in, but I saw the inside of a business changing dramatically, and it was very stressful and very upsetting for a lot of people, but an amazing experience for me to witness at such a young age. I didn't stay with the business for much longer after that, and I got a role with the Royal Bank of Scotland in London and found myself in the commercial banking, and I was a 23-year-old northern woman surrounded by 14 male older men who were very senior directors in the bank. And my role there was internal communications manager. And what this meant was I was trying to look at the messages that they were giving to their employees and to make sense of that and to listen to employees in the organisation and translate that back to senior leadership and to try and streamline what the knowledge was across the business, because it was very, very busy with everybody sending messages left, right and centre. And there was a few challenges in that because, as I said, I was only 23, I was northern and I was a female, and some of those things didn't go in my favour. It was very hard to engage with these very senior, older leaders and get them to listen and think about how they communicated with their employees in a different way. I did that for a number of years. It was around 8 years. And then I was expecting my first daughter. I was on maternity leave and I'd moved back up to Cheshire at this point and was working out of London 2 days a week. And I was just on maternity leave and the banking crisis happened in 2008. And there was a restructure in the bank and they brought all roles back to London. And my daughter was like 3 weeks old and they were wanting me to relocate back to London 5 days a week, which was just not acceptable for me. So that is when I decided to take redundancy and set up AG Communications. I thought to myself, why do I need to live in London and why do I need to work 70 hours a week to be able to do this job? What about I look at the characteristics of the job and instead of me doing everything, I have some amazing women beside me that are doing parts of it as well. And we all work flexibly together and deliver senior leadership communications together, but we're there for our families. And that was where I got the idea of AG Communications and set up that business in 2010. And I always thought when I was setting the business up, I needed to be 40 to be able to be taken seriously. I don't know why. I just had this image in my head. And I think it was probably from joining the bank at 23 and working with senior leaders that I wasn't old enough and I didn't have enough experience to be taken seriously. And at this point, I was 30 years old, just had a baby, didn't really know what I was doing, and decided to set up AG. So roll on 14 years, we've got a team of 28 amazing people. We all work from home, male and female, but predominantly female. We all look after our children. We have amazing projects that we work on with leaders in global businesses. We work with leaders that are based all over the world, helping them understand and communicate their key messages to employees. We look at culture change, transformational change. We help organisations communicate that in the best way. And we all do that and still be able to pick our children up from school or go to sports day and do the things that we need to do. And that's what was really important for us.
Oh, that's very inspirational. I think one thing I gauged from this is that every disappointment is a blessing. That even when they said you had to relocate to London and you weren't on it at all, you're still able to like use like innovation and creativity to shape something that's suited for you and for other women. So that's actually very thoughtful of you, and kudos to you as well. Leading up to the next questions of this conversation. I mean, you already highlighted it, but it'd be nice to hear it in much more detail. Starting out, what were some of the biggest hurdles you faced in building your businesses, and how did you tackle them? I don't know if you guys have a preference who would like to go first, but feel free, the floor is actually yours. So yeah.
Shall I kick off?
Yeah, go ahead, Lynne.
I think that so a big hurdle was getting over the mindset I'm too young, and my accent came into it quite a lot as well. What also came into it, I think, was the university that I went to back in the day, and I don't know if it's still like this now, but there was quite a hierarchy of where you studied and what you studied, and really my view is those things don't matter, and you can put those barriers around yourself, but that doesn't change your personality, that doesn't change how hardworking you are, your tenacity and your mindset to learn and improve. So I think those are some of the barriers that I had that I've overcome now. I think also speaking with a boardroom of experts when you are not the expert in the industry, but you're the expert of your own skill, was something I had to learn how to do as well, because I would go into senior leader meetings or present to the board and feel like I needed to know everything they knew to be able to talk about what I was talking about, but you don't. You're the expert in your area, in your field, and that's what matters. And you don't need to know everything about everybody else. Yes, their point of view, where they're coming from, but actually you're coming at it from an area that they don't know about, and you're bringing those skills, you're bringing that advice, you're bringing that knowledge to them to help them. And that was something that I needed to learn, and I wish I'd learned that sooner.
I can really relate to a lot of what you said in terms of that tendency to underestimate ourselves. I do think that's a very female trait, and I know a lot of my high achieving girlfriends, you know, still to this day, it's a problem that they're working consciously to solve. I mean, for me, even, yes, applying to university, neither of my parents went to university either. I was quite academic, and my mother was determined that if I had capability, I would have the opportunity. So I'm very fortunate that she, you know, did everything in her power to make sure that I had the opportunity. And I have to say, Cambridge was quite daunting because it wasn't the normal thing for us, you know, my parents' friends and their children to do. So it was challenging. And I would say that that lack of confidence in myself, my ability, was definitely a theme for quite a long time. And it's probably something that I have conquered most effectively in the last 6 years, ironically. So yes, I underestimated my ability to learn business as I went along. It led to me delaying launching the brand, but I guess you only really know when you look back whether or not something was a mistake or not. And actually, I gleaned so much life experience that gave me this very, very rounded view of the world. And there really aren't that many people, I think, in the world who've had all these different ways of looking at skincare. And I think that's the reason why the brand has been so successful, is because I had this clinical view, I had formulation view because I did pharmacology as part of my studies at Cambridge. I had done this stint in TV fixing beauty disasters and seeing how people experienced things when it went wrong to have cosmetic treatments that didn't have the desired outcome. I'd worked with other brands, so I'd seen the mistakes they'd made, often very expensive mistakes, when they'd organized events badly or they'd miscalculated a new launch. So even though it felt like I took forever to get going, once I got going, because it was a completely new playing field, I almost had no expectations of myself. And it was the most freeing thing in the world, actually, because I didn't have formal business training. I didn't have any real brand building experience. So yes, I surrounded myself with inspirational people who were incredibly generous with information and connections and mentorship. And that is one of the reasons myself and my team are so passionate about being involved with the Girls Network. And I look back at myself, 14 to 19, was such a critical time when I had lots of capabilities, but I didn't have any real self-belief. It was really belief from other people that kind of got me where I got. But how different would my life have been if I'd had that kind of input from people I could look up to and go, wow, that's amazing what they've done at that point in my life. So as I say, that's why I feel so strongly about this. But you know, where there is risk and you go the less traveled path, you zig where others zag. I've come to realize that's where real opportunity lies. When you do things differently, you think a little bit differently because you haven't been funneled through the conventional route. And it's a strange thing to suddenly feel really confident and competent in yourself. And I think what I see in my female friends who are very successful is that competency is the key to confidence. It's about learning skills, upskilling yourself, being curious, being honest about what you don't know, and knowing that is completely okay, knowing that it's okay to fail, and that sometimes you know, oftentimes you learn far more from your failures than you ever do from your successes, and you can always turn a failure into a win if you reflect on it and you make sure that you get data to go forward with. And I think business for that reason has been wonderful because I've learned so much through experience and doing things. And I think what I've learned most is that finding your passion and finding that sense of purpose, however long it takes you, is so worthwhile.
That was very, very inspiring. Thank you, both of you. I think it's a common theme amongst women to doubt themselves sometimes and also to have low confidence and just doubt their capabilities. So it was really inspiring to hear both of you talk about how you overcame these barriers for yourselves. And I know that a lot of young people, especially a lot of young women, especially 14 to 19-year-olds, also probably feel like this. And at the Girls Network, I know that we have a bunch of ambassadors who are entrepreneurial minds as well. And I think it would be really useful for them to hear about any advice that you would have for young people our age who want to get into this and want to set up their own businesses. So yeah, both of you, I don't know who wants to start, but yeah.
Yeah, sure. I think that what I've learned about being an entrepreneur is the importance of finding that thing that you can do really well that others need. So for us, I guess, with a tangible product, it's about having product market fit. And as I said, I explored that world for a really long time. I gathered lots of information so that when I did finally act, I really knew who my customer was, and I really knew the competitive landscape. So I knew what others were doing. I knew where the gaps in the market were. I knew what processes other brands weren't using. They weren't really giving guidance on how to use skincare products correctly. They hadn't done what we did, which was to build this kind of end-to-end manual for how to use the products that we sold in a really easy to action way. And I think it was that complete immersion in my world where I absorbed so much more than I even was consciously aware of, so that when it came to time to act, I did it incredibly leanly. You must have that absolute bootstrapping mentality when it comes to setting up a business. I made sure that I had the right people around me giving advice. And I kept everything really small until I knew that I was onto a formula that would work. And I was very careful about the people I chose to work with. You can't build businesses in whatever arena you're in without great people around you. For me, those were the lessons that I think mean that we really haven't made too many major mistakes. And, you know, we survived the tough early years financially. As I said, I haven't had to take any investment, which gives me a lot of control and autonomy, which is really, really important to me. So it perhaps compromised speed of growth in the earlier years. We could probably have been bigger, faster, but I don't think of that as a bad thing because I'm building a business that I want to last. Yes, there may be an exit in the future, but I think for me, it's important to have this thing where we've kind of tested it in lots of different shapes and sizes before letting it out in the world in retail. So 6 years before launching in stores is actually quite a slow journey, probably, given we could have been in stores from the first month of business, but it was the right speed for me. And I've learned so much because I've had to do so much. So I think there's, again, no harm in learning all the different facets of your business. You know it inside out. So good product market fit, bootstrap it, have great people, you know, network and find those people that are further ahead of you, that can give you advice and you can call up when you're having a difficult day. And then work really hard, you know, be resilient, have grit. I think tenacity, as Lynne mentioned, I think it's such an important quality to have that inner strength to keep going, to get up when things go wrong, and just to rally and keep moving towards a goal. And I think it's easy to do that when you find your passion, when you find something that's really meaningful to you. So I think there's no rush to start these things. I think you need to know yourself well to be a good entrepreneur, and you need to know where your blind spots lie. And I think you need to constantly work on yourself as well as learning these skills. No one teaches you emotional regulation when you're younger. And I really do think that learning to meditate or some other mindful practice being part of school curriculum would solve so many problems. Yeah, I think those are the things that I think are important for entrepreneurs.
I totally agree on the emotional regulation piece. I think mental health and well-being as a business owner is incredibly important, and knowing when your body is telling you that you need a rest, take it, because if you don't, your body will make sure you take it, and that is not the best way to do it. Trust me, I've been there several times, and we are not machines. We are human beings that need the time to switch off and step away and get into nature and just have fun. So number one would be think about yourself and make sure that you're balancing what you do and how you do it, because it can be very difficult when you're first starting up. Every minute matters. The second thing I would say is trust your gut. There's nothing worse than going, I knew I should have done that. I could feel it and I didn't do it. My gut gives me the guidance all the time. And I say it to my team all the time. And we talk about that feeling, that intuition, what is our body telling us and why. It's something is not sitting well with you, and you need to understand what that is and why, and then you can do something about it. So the power of that feeling, that niggle, it's really, really important. The third thing I would say is get a business mentor or a business advisor or a coach, somebody that you can trust, somebody that you can just think out loud with, even if they don't give you the answers. I have a listening coach, and she just asks me questions. She doesn't actually give me any answers, and it's hugely powerful because I get to the answers myself. It's all in here. We have the answers to everything we need. And she asked me this one question only about 12 months ago, and it was the best question. She said, what do you already know now that you're going to learn in 12 months? And I went, what? What do you already know the answer to now that you're going to learn in 12 months? And that just, give me a shiver. I was like, ooh. And she was so right. She was so right. And I made some big decisions and big changes this year. And that was at the heart of it. So, listen to yourself, listen to your body, have someone to help you listen to yourself with as well. The final thing I would say is your team. And, Dr. Sam mentioned that as well. Surround yourself with good people. Not the people who you get on well with, which that's a bonus when that happens, but the people that have got skills that you don't have. The people that are the opposite to your learning style and working style. I'm big kind of picture thinking. I'm in the strategy space. The person that supports me the most in my business is in the detail. And I talk up here and she talks down here and we have such funny conversations. But when you bring it together, that's when the magic happens. And I didn't have that person in my business for a long time. And looking back now, I needed her earlier. And that would have saved a lot of problems, because when you're not in the detail, you miss things and you can't be everywhere and you can't be everything to everybody. So find your people, find your team, and it's the best feeling in the world when you work together. Collaboration, it's magical. So that's mine.
That more actually, Lynn. I definitely made some hiring mistakes in the early days, whether it was, limited resource or just a lack of experience when it came to interview. No one teaches you how to interview people. You have to learn that the hard way. But same for me. My number 2 has changed my life, makes work fun, like truly fun, because as you say, you've got 2 people who are polar opposites but have enough overlapping bits in the middle for it all to gel nicely, and then you get that different perspective and the rapport. It makes doing business just a dream, right?
Absolutely. Can I just add one more thing, actually, which we're probably going to talk about a bit more later, but I started 14 years ago, right? So the things that I learned 14 years ago probably are not relevant today, because the business world is different and the way we communicate and do business is different. We didn't have a website for about 8 years, and I didn't do any marketing or business development. It was all through relationship. So it was a very different world when I started. If I was to start a new business right now, the thing that I would be looking for is, what is the reason my business has to exist? What is my business doing for people and planet? That's what I'd be looking at. Environmentally and socially, what is my business doing? How are we helping what's happening in the world in whatever way, whether it's for equality or climate action or safe drinking water, whatever of the UN Sustainable Development Goals, the 17 global goals. And if you look up the UN Sustainable Development Goals, if every country looked to solve those goals, the world would be in a better place. So you can look at them and say, what can we do differently in our business to help drive some of these goals? And that's what I've pivoted my business to in the last 4 years. I've been looking at, how can we help equality for women and girls, and what can we do about climate action? And every activity we do in our business and everything any person does on a project is looking at improving life and experience for people, planet, nature. That's what we're doing. So that's what I would be looking at for any new business starting today.
Wow.
Sorry for that burst of oomph.
No, but definitely, I think a lot of that in this current day and age where capitalism is on the rise, everyone's trying to get money in their pocket one way or another. Profit is what people are looking at. So to turn something that can make you profit, but actually focus it and redirect it on how it can actually have an effect in the world, I think it's actually a really big blessing. And I think it's something that you should be very proud of, because not many business owners are looking on developing the world. Most are looking to enlarge their pockets and do things in their own interest. So thank you so much. And both of you touched on the importance of a team. So I mean, maybe you could go deeper in this next question. So what's your approach to a team, and how do you keep everyone working towards the same goals? Because what you realize is, with a team, you've got different perspectives and people coming from different backgrounds and different ways of thinking and different ways of life. So how do you balance all of that together whilst making sure you're achieving the main thing? yeah, whoever wants to go first. I mean, you guys know my policy. The floor is yours.
I'll jump on this one. So my team work from home and work flexibly, and that is what they need to help them do whatever they need to do to be brilliant at work. So I think trust and flexibility is really key. And they don't have times they have to start, they don't have times they have to finish. It's all driven by what are our objectives, what are we trying to achieve, and what are the milestones or deadlines that we're working to. So if somebody wants to, I don't know, take the dog for a walk, mid-morning because it's just getting too much for them, you don't have to ask permission. You are an adult, you manage your time and your work however you want. We achieve these goals, we achieve the milestones, the day-to-day stuff, that's up to you to manage it. So I think that trust is really, really important. Some businesses and some cultures that I've experienced in the past have like a parent-child relationship with their employees, and that is just not great. So red warning flag there. That I would have an issue with that. You're an adult and you're brought to deliver and achieve with your expertise, and that's the way that I would move going forward. But that is unique to my business because we're a service-based business and we're working with people on all time zones around the world. So that's why we have super flexibility. What else would I say? Understanding the other person's position is really important. So you may assume quite a lot. Why has somebody not done something, or why did you do it that way, or what? When you understand where they're coming from and why they chose those decisions, it's quite enlightening, and that helps you solve for the future. So there's a piece around not being quick to judge and giving people time, and you trying to understand and to listen to what people are doing that might be on the other side of the world with different issues than what you're dealing with. And when you have that understanding, you do become more aware and you have more empathy for people, and you're able to then find that common ground to build that trust and to be able to move forward together as a team. Yeah.
So for us, I mean, teamwork is obviously critical, and as a small agile brand that's growing rapidly, I think what's really been important for us is a system of OKRs. So it's a way of, I guess, disseminating the company's goals and then how that relates to individuals' goals. So OKR stands for objectives and key results. And I think when you have a team where you have a very flat hierarchy, it's everyone talks to everybody, we're all in each other's business. It is the nature of startup culture. We're 6 years on, so we're not really a startup anymore, but I mean, I think we still have the startup mentality, which allows us to be very agile and move quickly and respond to changing external things which influence, for example, a social campaign going out. We might want to put something that's been planned for a month to the side to jump on a trending topic. So I think having really great clarity around where the business is going, so everybody knows, you know, the direction of travel, and then understands how their role feeds into achieving that greater goal. I think that's how teamwork has developed for us. It works really well. We have the same relationship whereby we have fixed hours for meetings on days that we're all in the office, Monday to Thursday, 3 days. And then if you haven't got any business critical meetings during those times, you know, you're free to come and go work where you want to work. At the end of the day, I feel like people that want to be in the office for those meeting days, it is important for us that there is a chemistry from sitting around the table trying to solve problems. And if somebody wanted to be fully remote, that might work perhaps for customer service and our business, but it really wouldn't work for much else because so much comes from collaboration. At the end of the day, I think work has to be more than just a paycheck, right? It has to be about a sense of purpose and the relationships that you build, whether in person or remote. So for me, having that really clear vision of where we're going, what we're trying to achieve, ensuring that everybody benefits. So we have a really healthy bonus structure so that people celebrate when the business wins. And I think hiring the right people and paying them well in the first instance is so important. You need to really remove the driver to be all about earnings. I think if you find good people and you pay them well, then you get people trying to solve problems for the right reasons with an expansive mindset rather than a competitive and narrow mindset. I think that's a really important hallmark of a healthy and a business with a good culture in terms of how you relate to each other and how you look after each other. So that's been very important to me, that we hire the right people, people I want to sit around and solve the problems with after hours, and that people are working for the right reasons and approaching problem solving in the right way.
That's beautiful. I mean, yeah, as a team, being able to come together at the right times, knowing when you can have that break and come back without feeling, without having that, I don't know, the term micromanage aspects of things is really nice, and adapting to the different changes. So yeah, thank you. Ishrat, over to you.
I think we only have time for one more question. So, I think Lynn touched on this earlier, but I wanted to ask how both of your work has changed over the years and what new trends or challenges that you've had to adapt to.
Okay, I'll jump in on this one. How work's changed over the years. I think more people are working virtually, and COVID had a big part of that. So we were probably a COVID working business model back in 2010 when we first started out. In terms of what's changed and how we're adapting, there's much more apps available to help you do your job, to connect, to see each other, to drop in. We use Office 365. So that's a Microsoft program, and we use Teams, and we share all of our content. The knowledge management of the business is much, much better than it used to be. And that collaboration is much better. And we're all working on documents at the same time. We're all signing things off. We're jumping on calls with each other, left, right, and centre. We do big calls with everybody on. We do small ones. So I think the move in technology has really enabled us to speed up how we work and to do that with our clients as well. Back in, back in the probably 28, 29, every event that we did was in person. Always. And everybody would travel to the event, and just think about the carbon emissions doing that. But now we do a lot of events virtually. So we used to run quite a lot of award ceremonies recognising behaviours of employees that's done well in our client organisations. And we would create, it was a little bit like the Eurovision Song Contest. So you would have an event in a country where everybody was from that country, and we'd connect it up to 12 different countries around the world, and people on stage would hand over to the next person on the next stage, and the conversation would carry on, and everybody was like one big community. That really helped us bring everybody together, but without having to travel to one location. So technology's definitely had a really big part in how we work. And, the new different programs with the artificial intelligence that's coming, in the next couple of years, I don't know what we're going to see going forward, but I think it'll be dramatically different.
So yeah, I'd say we've had obviously the same adaptation to working from home on certain days, using all the tools that we have available to us. But I think perhaps the biggest change over the last few years is just the shift in use of social media as a social first brand. When I started out, Facebook and Instagram were the two big platforms alongside YouTube. Now as a brand, we are very TikTok focused, which for an older person like myself has been a challenge to adapt to a new form of communication, a much more authentic, less pristine, less perfected form of content, and sort of bringing that kind of honesty and realness, I suppose, to content. So that's certainly been an interesting one. And then changing the way that an e-commerce business works with the changes in privacy. So that's created its own challenges. That's been a big one for us to adapt to. I think people, what they want from work has changed a bit as well. I think people are much more focused on having a balanced life and kind of, working to live rather than living to work. That's definitely been a shift. And I think it's a good one. I think there will be people who want to work full time from home because it suits them better with what's going on in their personal life. There'll be people who want to come into an office. I think the good thing is we've probably seen a swing to a place where you will find the right business and their approach to working that is right for you. And I think to have that choice is wonderful. There's lots of businesses now where they will give you the opportunity to go and work, and be remote for a month. So you can go and live somewhere else and enjoy and, living in a new country. So I think that flexibility and understanding and empathy that Lynne touched on, I think it's really important to understand, the people that you hire, what their goals in life are. For a lot of people, it's not just about progression within work, it's about living a healthy, rounded life. And people who are happy, tend to be better people on the team. So I think that within, reason, helping people discover what the best setup for them looks like. I think that's the modern way of working that is successful for a small business like mine.
Perfect. Thank you ever so much. I mean, it's been a very insightful conversation, and I'm sure the ambassadors and every student that's watching will have a great insight into starting their own business and things to look out for. You've touched on some very important skills like teamwork, emotional intelligence, empathy in the workplace, and stuff like that. So this is a very universal conversation. So if you are a business owner, if you are a student, this conversation is just for you, and you can take wisdom keys, I like to call it, and apply it to the different aspects of your life. So thank you so much for your time once again. Ishrat, any final words?
Before I say anything, I'd like to let everyone know that I have construction going on downstairs and the noise is getting a bit louder. So if you hear that, please don't mind. I'd like to say that even though I don't want to own a business in the future, and I know there's a lot of ambassadors that have a range of different passions and ambitions and different goals that they want to achieve. I think the things that you've both shared with us today are very, very valuable for whatever anyone wants to do. And definitely, I've taken a lot of things on board today. I was typing, making some notes as well. And I think as someone who wants to get into policy making in the future, the things that you've shared today are very, very helpful. So thank you both a lot for that.
It's a pleasure. Thank you very much. You've asked great questions, Theresa and Ishrat. Been a pleasure to join you both today. Lovely to meet you, Lynne, as well.
Likewise, thank you so much. It's been really great.
Cool.
Sorry. And it's been gone.